Hello, my name is David Wiles. I'm a theatre historian, and I've just brought out a book on democracy. So why have I done that? The answer is that I consider democracy to be a form of theatre. That may seem counterintuitive. Let me explain why I think that. The essence of democracy, as I see it, is two people standing on a stage, and what they're trying to do is to win over an audience to like them better than the other person standing next to them. They tell stories, they construct characters for themselves, and they get an audience to cry, laugh, empathize, all that. So democratic politics is a performance art. As a historian, I go back to Athens, which seems to be where it all started, where democracy sprang up and theatre sprang up, same place, same time. Two aspects of the same thing as I see it. And theatre was something quite new. People had danced together, they'd sung together for a long time to create social unity. But now you had this new form where people used words to argue with each other. Who killed King Laius? You did it. No, he did it. She did it. Argument, the basis of this new thing called theatre. So democratic politics in Athens was an art form. A key figure called Gorgias came over from Sicily with a bag of psychological tricks, and he taught the elite how to use these tricks to win the audience to vote for them and not vote for the other person. Those tricks were effective. The key philosopher who then stood up and said, no, this is completely wrong, was Plato. You can't build life round the professional telling of lies. He attacked this thing called rhetoric, which was equally part of democratic politics and part of theatre. And the two had to go together. But despite Plato, rhetoric went on, it thrived in the Roman world, and it became the basis, in later centuries, the basis of stage acting, the basis of any politics conducted in a republic, a social system that rejected rule by one person, and that therefore required public argument. It went on, but Plato's worry became the Christian worry. It was always there. The Christian worry is that you must talk from the heart. You must follow your conscience. You must be sincere. How can you reconcile that with the art, the learnt art of public persuasion, working on the emotions of others, using theatrical skill to make people feel differently and therefore, at the end of the day, act differently? But essentially, people were pragmatic despite these Christian worries. They struggled on because, and the great thing is that if you can pay money to learn the art of being a democratic politician, then the vested interests of the elite are served and people get on. It works. In the 20th century, however, something fundamentally shifted. Of course, it was a slow process, but something shifted. There were more voices needed at the table in democratic politics and in the world of theatre. actors thought differently about their craft. They started talking about acting truthfully, drawing on an authentic bit of their own experience in order to create an authentic performance. All that came in. So we get to the paradox of sincerity. You admire actors for being sincere, but for also performing their sincerity. And it takes us at the end of the day to the paradox of Donald Trump that everybody is so aware of, so baffled by, so many people are distraught about what has happened here. It's the paradox that people love a rogue. They can empathise with a rogue. People think they ought to love sincerity, but actually they don't like sincerity. They don't like people who trumpet their own moral virtue. And sincerity is a problematic thing in democratic politics, because if people follow their convictions, then they find it very hard to empathise with other people who see life differently. They find it very hard to shift when they have to follow the view of the majority that goes against their own convictions. But sincerity is this problematic thing. The Trump phenomenon throws up the problem of rationality. People think, why can I not argue rationally against this man? And people follow what I'm saying so reasonably. But rationality is a tricky thing. Rationality is so often used as a cloak that we have learnt to use to cover up our emotional choices, to convince ourselves that our emotional choices are rational choices. That's where the lens of history is so important, to see this process being played out. The founding fathers are paradigmatic here, I think, talking the rational language of human rights while owning slaves. So that, in essence, is why I think the theatrical lens has something to teach us today. Of course, there are no easy answers. Of course, technology has had disastrous effects. There is no sphere for public argument, for people gathering in one place. But I think it's at least a starting point to recognise what's going on, that we can't at the same time rely upon theatricality and condemn theatricality in the same breath. Democracy requires us to see a way through that conundrum.